So, a lot of things are happening now in America, and people are starting to voice their opinions a lot more openly about how they feel about government. We had an incident that happened in Virginia, um, where you saw that where a lot of people were voicing their opinions about monuments being taken down. Um, there's been a lot of things that have happened. I've been really silent, and I've just really been sitting back and watching a lot of the craziness unfold. And I really pretty much projected earlier on, before all of this stuff began to unfold, with a lot of the Confederate monuments being taken down, a lot of more protest, a lot of discord in American government, and the people that are complaining about a lot of social programs that are much needed in smaller communities or in communities of people who are more vulnerable. And I use that word loosely. People who are at a risk for being homeless, people who are at risk for basically not having enough to feed their children or their families, being displaced, and a lot of that has been happening. We've seen that through some of these social programs like Section 8. Um, we've seen a lot of the programs being cut, or they've been eliminated, or their talk of being eliminated, or cutting back programs. And a new issue that has come to the forefront is the DACA program, in which stated in a previous video further back, before this unfolded, that I felt, this is how I felt. I felt that there were a lot of lying in government. That, I knew something was wrong when they had people, pretty much, it's like rolling out a nice, beautiful red carpet of opportunity and then snatching it out from under your feet. And that's the way this is feeling to a lot of people who are being affected by this program being eliminated, and they're voicing their discord and this disgruntledness about not having this program um, anymore, because of the many people that it will affect, that it's affecting even now emotionally. And so I had pretty much projected that this was coming down the line. And so I believe there are going to be other programs that are also going to take a hit, because there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of discord. There's not a lot of honesty. There's a lot of hypocrisy and lying in the White House. And it's among people who are involved in controlling big government decisions. And it impacts a lot of people. When you start hearing like Jeff Sessions, and you start hearing Donald Trump, and you start hearing those meetings from the White House, and when they're speaking, say, well, we're not doing this because these are bad people. We're doing this because we're following the law. When you hear that, pretty much it's time to not even contemplate if they're going to waver in the issue. They've already made a decision. And I hate to be the bearer of the bad news, but I believe a lot more people are going to be affected. And it's not just the DACA program, which Obama's the one that put that in place. I feel like a lot of the programs that he put in place, and a lot of programs he tried to put in place that were blocked, are the things that they're wiping away. Just as if you take an eraser and you wipe away on a whiteboard all of the accomplishments that he's made. And that was one of the programs. And I heard people saying all these negative things about Obama, but if you really think about it, now you're going to miss something that really impacts a lot of people. There used to be this talk about, well, he deported all these people, and you don't think he didn't have any pressure from government on the far right to do that? And so that's why he implemented the DACA program to begin with, because he was trying to protect a lot of people. And I believe that's what was really going down. And a lot of the efforts that he made were blocked through people who just didn't want him to make any, improvements for people who were on these social programs. So we have issues with Section 8. And believe it or not, Section 8 has been around for quite a while, and it's taking a hit as well. And what's happening too, more recently, and they haven't really been talking enough about this, that a lot of people who are on this program in particular, what they're doing now, I'm going to give it to you straight from the horse's mouth. Now, this is what I heard from someone who works in this program. Says that a lot of these people who are working in the Section 8 program, who are workers, will probably lose their jobs if they cut this program. So it's not only affecting people who are dependent upon this program, but people who are working class people who are working in this program, helping people who are dependent on the program. And also I've heard that people who are in this program, who are dependent on this program and need it to live, to survive, what they've been doing is encouraging people to port out. And port out is when they go further, like maybe outside the outskirts of the city, and they go to the suburb. Now, get this. They wind up going further out, and further out, there may not be enough job opportunities out there. So they go out, they get a place, it might be cheaper to live, but then it isn't cheaper, because then they realize, uh-oh, I can't find a job, because they're in an area where the jobs are not as plentiful as if they were in the city. And as we know, I don't know if other people realize that, we've had issues with, some of the cities all over, not just even in Los Angeles, but in other places have changed. They've regentrified a lot of these places, like Atlanta. I believe there are other places like Chicago. There's areas where they're sort of like trying to cater to people who are more wealthier class or hipsters, and so they're moving those people in and moving out the poorer class, or the people that are just regular lower income working class. And so this is all by design, if you really pay attention to this. So I was looking at a video where some guy was talking about, well, this is a bigger thing. It's not just about them taking down the monuments, and there's more involved. Black people fought for the Confederacy, and then there were some that fought against, but at the end of the day, they all fought, for our freedom. And so, I'm not going to get in the middle of that argument. I've heard both sides, but in that time it was crazy, because even the North, even when people fled to the North, the black people fled to the North for jobs, they still were met with the Jim Crow laws that eventually came into effect. So they weren't completely without the scathing rudeness of racism. So here you got churches now being held accountable. So you see where this all is coming from and stemming from. So there's a lot of people that have pulled away from faiths, because they are starting to see a different side of these mega churches, in particular the mega churches. You have some of these leaders like Joel Osteen. We just seen that the horrible, horrific Harvey, that horrible storm that just wiped most of the Texas area and wiped it out and flooded it. So, this is where you see who really is for real. And, I'm not saying that all churches are bad, but what you gotta, look at who is running these organizations and what is their real heart's intent. And a lot of people are holding these churches and these church leaders accountable for what it is that they claim that they're doing in the communities. You see, they're taking more out of the community than rather than giving back. And so when they hold them accountable, you notice then all of a sudden they act because they don't want to have that bad name on them, and they don't want to lose their followers and their members. But I'm guaranteed that there will be something else that will happen that will cause a rift in the membership of some of these leaders, because a lot of them really are in it for the money. Because, religion is big business, believe it or not. Racism is big business, and race fighting is big business. Some of these social programs that they're taking and pulling away, they're doing it for money reasons, because they think they're conserving money because there's such a big debt crisis, they claim. And then we have this issue with police brutality, and we've seen that. Philando Castile, we have Eric Garner, and then we have all these other, there's so many names I can't even think of, but you notice they want to show this and highlight this. But then you have the arguments where some people are saying, oh, there's more white on white crime. But okay, so if there is, how come we're not seeing it? Now, we just saw a nurse being roughed up by cops or security guard cops in a hospital facility. And so now they've not only been roughing up black people and targeting black people, but anybody they feel that isn't complying with the way they want things to be done, they're roughing them up, shooting and gunning people down, and not asking any questions, not even giving you a chance so you can explain your side of the story. No, you just tell it to the judge, or they don't even want to do that anymore. And then we see the news media. They kind of like pull some of these stories, and the stories are elaborated and exaggerated, and then some of them are true stories, which is sad. You don't want to believe, but a lot has been going on. So this is all not by accident, and I predict, unfortunately, more protests and possibly another riot. Thanks for listening.